The truth is, the most powerful intimacy doesn't begin with the body, it begins with the mind. The mind is the ultimate erogenous zone, and when you understand how to awaken it, you unlock levels of attraction, connection, and pleasure that most people never experience. Psychological seduction is not about manipulation. It is about creating an atmosphere where anticipation builds naturally, where the nervous system becomes attuned to every small gesture, every subtle look, every pause in your voice. It is the art of making her mind race before you even lay a finger on her. In this space, desire is not rushed. It's cultivated like a flame that starts with a single spark and grows hotter with each passing second. When you master psychological seduction, you are not just engaging in physical contact. You are engaging in a deep conversation with her subconscious. Her mind begins to replay your words, the tone of your voice, the weight of your gaze. You are creating an emotional imprint, one that she carries in her body and cannot ignore. This is why some moments are remembered for years, while others are forgotten in minutes. When you know how to engage her thoughts, you are planting seeds of desire that bloom in ways physical touch alone cannot achieve. The human brain is wired to crave novelty and anticipation. When you learn to play with time, slowing things down when she expects you to move fast, holding her gaze just a moment longer than feels comfortable, letting your words hang in the air, you are building a charge in her system. Her mind begins to wander into scenarios, imagining the next move, feeling the build-up in her body. Even though nothing has happened yet, this is what makes psychological seduction so potent. It engages her imagination, and the imagination is limitless. Another aspect of this power lies in presence. When you are truly present with her, when your attention is undivided and anchored, she can feel it. She feels seen, heard, and understood without a single word being spoken about it. In that presence, there is no rush to reach the end. There is only the moment, and in the moment, her body responds to the safety and excitement you are creating. Your stillness becomes as intoxicating as your movement. Subtle communication also plays a key role. A shift in your breathing, a deliberate pause before speaking, an almost imperceptible lean toward her. All of these bypass logical thought and speak directly to her instinctual mind. She may not consciously register each detail, but her body will. The more you understand that her arousal begins in her thoughts, the more you will realize that the smallest, most intentional actions can have the greatest effect. In this space, words are not fillers. They are instruments. The right phrase at the right moment can cause her pulse to quicken, her breath to change, her body to soften. You're not talking for the sake of noise. You are weaving a story, creating a mental and emotional world that she steps into willingly. Every pause, every choice of word, every tone shift is part of the architecture of desire. The body follows where the mind leads, and when the mind is captivated, the body becomes a willing accomplice in the dance of intimacy. There is an undeniable force that exists when someone embodies grounded, unshakable confidence, a presence that doesn't need to shout to be felt. This is the essence of dominant energy, and it is one of the most magnetic qualities you can bring into intimacy. It is not about overpowering or forcing your will. Rather, it is about stepping fully into a role where your certainty, decisiveness, and control create an environment where she feels safe enough to let go completely. Dominant energy is not aggression, it is direction. It is the quiet assurance that you know where you're going and can lead her there without hesitation. When you step into this energy, something primal awakens in her. The modern world often conditions women to be in control, to manage, to decide, to carry the weight of countless responsibilities. But in the realm of intimacy, many women long for the release of that constant control. They desire a space where they can surrender, where they can trust someone else to guide the experience. When you radiate dominant energy, you are offering that space without even needing to say it out loud. She can feel it in your stance, in the steadiness of your eyes, in the way you initiate without asking for permission, but still read her signals deeply. This kind of dominance is deeply connected to presence. Your body language is certain, your movements are deliberate, your touch is intentional. When you hold her hand, you do it with purpose. When you guide her body, you do it with clarity. The energy says, I know what I'm doing, and you can trust me. That trust is the bridge that allows her to explore her wildest, most hidden desires without fear of judgment or rejection. It is also important to understand that dominant energy thrives in subtle contrasts. The strength of your presence is amplified when balanced with moments of tenderness. A firm grip followed by a slow, gentle caress, a commanding tone softened by a whisper, a decisive movement that melts into stillness. These shifts keep her guessing, keep her engaged, and keep the experience alive with electricity. She doesn't just feel physically moved, she feels emotionally and energetically moved as well. Part of this magnetism also comes from how you handle resistance. Dominant energy does not crumble at hesitation. It listens, adapts, and holds its ground. It does not rush to fill every pause or back away at the first sign of uncertainty. Instead, it remains steady, communicating silently that you can hold space for whatever arises. This unspoken confidence is intoxicating because it says, I can handle all of you. Your pleasure, your emotions, your needs, your edges. The magnetic pull here is primal. It speaks to something ancient in human connection, the desire for polarity. When you fully embody your grounded, commanding energy, you invite her into the opposite pole, softness, surrender, and receptivity. The dance between these energies is where passion intensifies and the experience transforms into something far beyond physical touch. Your dominance becomes not just a role, but an energy that envelops her, making her feel both claimed and cherished in the same breath. There is a unique kind of magic that happens when multiple senses are engaged at once, creating a flood of stimulation that takes the experience far beyond the surface of the skin. The body and mind are wired to respond to layered input, and when touch, sound, scent, sight, and even taste merge into a single moment, they activate deeper pathways of arousal. This is the alchemy of sensory overload, a state where her awareness becomes completely absorbed in you, leaving no room for distractions, doubts, or overthinking. When you create this environment, you are not just touching her body, you are awakening her entire sensory system, turning intimacy into an immersive, full body experience. Every sense carries its own doorway into desire. The warmth of your breath against her neck, the low vibration of your voice in her ear, the firmness of your hands anchoring her hips. Each one is a signal that bypasses logic and goes straight to instinct. When layered together, they create a storm of sensation that the mind can't easily process in sequence. Instead, she feels it all at once, as if time slows down and every nerve is on high alert. This intensity pulls her deeper into the present moment, where pleasure is amplified simply because her awareness has nowhere else to go. Sound plays a powerful role in this process. The rhythm of your breathing, the subtle sounds of movement, even the way you speak or let your voice drop into a more grounded tone. All of these work on a subconscious level to influence her state. Pair that with intentional touch, alternating between soft, grazing fingertips and sudden, firmer pressure, and her body begins to oscillate between relaxation and heightened anticipation. This unpredictability is a key part of sensory overload. The contrast makes each new sensation stand out more vividly. Scent is another underestimated but potent tool. The human brain processes smell in a part of the brain directly linked to memory and emotion, which means a subtle fragrance, your natural scent, or a faint trace of cologne can anchor the entire experience into her mind. It becomes a trigger for desire long after the moment has passed, combined with visual elements. Your gaze holding hers, the play of light and shadow across the room, the sight of your body moving with deliberate intent. You create an environment where her senses feed off one another, intensifying everything she feels. Sensory overload is not about doing more for the sake of excess. It's about doing just enough in each sense to make them all work together. It's the deliberate orchestration of physical and energetic cues that blend into a symphony of stimulation. Even the smallest detail, like the temperature difference between your skin and the air, or the way your fingertips slow down when they reach a sensitive spot, adds to the overall effect. Her body responds instinctively, her breath changes, her muscles shift, and her mind lets go of control because there is simply too much pleasure to manage consciously. In this state, she doesn't think about what comes next. She only feels it. Within every human being exists a part that craves the unknown, a hunger for experiences that break away from predictability and routine. For many women, this longing shows up in intimate moments as a quiet, unspoken desire for risk and rebellion. It is not necessarily about danger in the literal sense. It is about the thrill of stepping outside the expected, of doing something that feels a little forbidden, a little out of bounds. This energy awakens something primal in her, a part that wants to feel alive, untamed, and unrestrained. When you understand how to hold space for this desire, you invite her into a realm where passion is amplified by the adrenaline of novelty and unpredictability. Risk in intimacy is less about recklessness and more about intensity. It can be as subtle as breaking the patterns she's grown used to, or as bold as shifting the entire atmosphere in an instant. When something feels unexpected, her nervous system lights up, flooding her with a surge of energy that heightens her sensitivity to every touch and word. This is why spontaneous encounters often feel more electric, because they bypass the mind's habit of planning and instead throw her directly into the immediacy of the moment. Rebellion has its own allure because it taps into the instinct to defy limits. In a safe, consensual space, rebellion can look like ignoring the rules of time, breaking away from the usual sequence, or leaning into desires that she's never voiced aloud. It is about granting her the freedom to be more than the version of herself the world expects. This space allows her to explore edges she might never approach in the light of day. Edges that feel deliciously risky precisely because they are not part of her everyday life. The power of risk and rebellion in intimacy is magnified when it's paired with unwavering presence. If you create a container where she knows you're fully there, reading her body, responding to her cues, then the unpredictability becomes thrilling rather than unsafe. This is the key. Risk without trust becomes fear. But risk within trust becomes liberation. She can surrender to the experience because she knows you are guiding it with both boldness and care. Breaking the expected pattern also changes the way time is experienced. A shift in location, an unexpected pause, a sudden change in pace. These small rebellions against the predictable rhythm pull her deeper into her senses. She stops waiting for the next step and instead feels the next step as it happens. The adrenaline heightens every sensation, making even the simplest touch feel amplified. There is also an emotional layer to this. Risk and rebellion awaken parts of her that are often dormant. The playful rebel, the daring lover, the woman who moves without overthinking. In this space, she is not following a script. She is creating a moment that feels alive and unrepeatable. The very fact that it could not be planned is what makes it so potent. It becomes an experience etched into memory, not because of grand gestures, but because it was born out of the raw electricity of doing something that wasn't supposed to happen. There is a profound transformation that occurs when desire moves beyond physical attraction into the realm of deep reverence. The energy of worship and ravishing is not about shallow admiration. It is about making her feel so profoundly desired and claimed that every part of her being knows she is the only one in that moment. Worship is the presence you bring, the way you look at her, as though she is art, as though her body, her voice, her breath, and her essence are worthy of your full, undistracted attention. Ravishing is the expression of that energy in a way that is fierce, passionate, and unstoppable. Together, they create a current that sweeps her into a state where she no longer questions whether she is enough. She feels it in her bones. When you embody the energy of worship, every touch becomes intentional. You are not moving through motions. You are exploring her as though you are discovering her for the first time. Your hands linger. Your eyes trace her curves with appreciation. Your words drip with truth about what you see and feel. There is no rush to get anywhere because every moment is already complete. This kind of attention melts away walls she didn't even know she had, because it sends the unmistakable message she is fully seen, fully wanted, and fully safe to open. Ravishing takes that deep appreciation and channels it into passion that cannot be contained. It is the hunger that grips her waist firmly, the way you kiss as if you've been starved for her, the way you move her body as though she belongs to you in that instant. It is not gentle worship alone. It is worship with urgency, with a heat that consumes and claims. The balance between these two energies, devotion and desire, creates a polarity that makes her feel both cherished and taken. One feeds her soul, the other ignites her primal nature. This energy is not just physical, it is energetic. It is the way your presence fills the space, the way your breath syncs with hers, the way you create a rhythm that feels inevitable. It is the combination of patience and intensity, of savoring and consuming. You are both the stillness that admires and the storm that takes, and she feels the safety to surrender into both. When you fully enter this space, she stops thinking about how she looks, how she sounds, or what comes next. The need to perform dissolves, because she knows you are not there for a performance. You are there for her. Every sigh, every arch of her back, every sound she makes becomes part of a shared language that doesn't require translation. In these moments, her body responds, not because she is trying to please you, but because she cannot help but be moved by the force of your presence and desire. The worship softens her, the ravishing awakens her, and together they create an experience where she feels consumed in the most beautiful way. When you begin to understand these deeper layers of intimacy, you realize that true connection is not just about what happens in the body. It is about what you awaken in the mind, the heart, and the energy between you. The power of psychological seduction ignites her imagination, drawing her into a space where desire builds before a single touch. The magnetic pull of dominant energy gives her permission to release control and surrender into trust. The alchemy of sensory overload awakens every part of her awareness, amplifying pleasure beyond the physical. The unspoken desire for risk and rebellion taps into her wild, untamed nature, reminding her of the thrill of the unknown. And the energy of worship and ravishing makes her feel desired in a way that is both sacred and primal, allowing her to open fully without hesitation. These are not separate techniques. They are threads in the same tapestry, woven together to create an experience that lingers long after the moment has passed. When you learn to hold all of these energies, to move fluidly between them, you are not just a participant in intimacy. You are the architect of an entire emotional, physical, and energetic journey. And in that journey, she finds a space where her desires are not only understood, but deeply honored, where every unspoken longing is met with presence, passion, and the kind of connection that cannot be forgotten